We're seeing AI democratize expertise across the workforce. These 8 words were part of the Microsoft earnings call on April 25th that highlighted that nearly 60% of Fortune 500 companies now use Copilot, and that many major corporations have purchased over 10,000 seats. The company generated over $20 billion in net income, up 20%, and the significance of their play in the AI market is a big part of that. But even being a Copilot advocate and a strong adherent to the idea that these products have tremendous and diverse positive impact for most businesses, I take issues with those 8 words. I feel we are reaching a point where for major tech companies, understandable marketing hyperbole that has generated a big buzz around AI is starting to veer into the territory of fiction, and not fairy tale fiction for children, but the dystopian AI ruling the world post-apocalyptic kind. Before we dig in further, a quick introduction. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm the owner of Bright Ideas Agency, a digital transformation consulting company focused on the needs of smaller businesses. I'm also the author of Who's in the Copilot Seat, a guidebook for small and medium-sized business leaders on how to adopt AI technology. If you're interested in learning more about working with me or getting a copy of my book, there are links below where you can get more information. The fact is that products like Copilot for Microsoft 365 do bring radical new benefits to the companies that use them. I see this in my work every day. I see it with clients I work with, and I hear about it not only from Microsoft, but from other consultants and industry leaders who have been involved in adopting these tools. Microsoft's own research shows us the tremendous impact Copilot for Microsoft 365 can have, both in terms of engagement, with us seeing that most employees wouldn't want to give it up, but also in measurable productivity benefits, such as the eye-watering amount of time saving you can get when catching up with a meeting you didn't attend. But you don't only have to be drinking Microsoft's Kool-Aid to see similar types of research results. Another survey conducted by HubSpot that I looked into for another video I made recently made even bolder claims around time savings by using generative AI. And some recent research by Boston Consulting Group showed us that using GPT-4 does indeed increase average performance. There are certainly opinions to the contrary on this technology, but where companies or research organisations have taken the time to gather hard numbers, I'm not aware of any reports that demonstrate any significant disadvantage in scenarios where AI tools have been adopted with reasonable safeguards for responsible use in place. Like Fire, like the Wheel, like the Steam engine, these are technologies that, when deployed for positive outputs and in reasonably responsible ways, generate universal benefit for their human users. You might disagree, and I'm happy to see your different point of view in the comments, but over the course of the last year of working with tools like ChatGPT or Copilot, I've experienced firsthand that they do deliver many of the stated benefits. But I've also talked here before about how there isn't a direct parity between what has been promised for Copilot for Microsoft 365 through the various product announcements and demonstrations, dating all the way back to its initial announcement in March 2023, and the product we have access to today. There's a lot of capability there, and new capabilities are being added all the time. But there are still features, like following meetings, that were announced and demoed early on, that are still not in the product today. For those customers who were excited by that specific demo and went out to buy Copilot on the basis of having seen it, there's still a lot of room for disappointment. And through providing consulting to businesses adopting Copilot, I can tell you that those situations are not a rare edge case. Those choosing Copilot for Microsoft 365 today are the same people who have been excited about it over the last year and have intently watched those announcements and product demos in many cases, and do have some very real surprise when I have to tell them that not seeing that or other feature isn't down to some deployment issue or training issue, it's just down to it not actually being a capability of the product right now. I wouldn't say I'm having those conversations every day, but I'm certainly having them every week or two, and have been for several months. Now, I will say that universally at this point, those businesses I have had those conversations with who have chosen to work with me, none of them see that feature confusion as an encumbrance in the long term. There are more than enough features in Copilot that apply to the vast majority of knowledge workers universally, that a missing specific feature here or there really doesn't have a negative impact on adoption or results. But the fact that Microsoft has built and promoted a product where it's entirely reasonable that most customers don't truly understand what it can and can't do is something that is perhaps at least a learning point for the future. So Copilot does lots of things really well to boost productivity. It just doesn't always do the same thing that businesses feel they initially bought it because of. What has this got to do with the 8 words I highlighted at the beginning of this video, I guess you're probably asking. Before we jump more into that though, I want to share some more about how I can help you with your digital transformation and AI journey. Getting the best from Microsoft 365 or from AI tools like Copilot for Microsoft 365 requires gaining new knowledge, getting good advice, and having the right plan. With my company Bright Ideas Agency, I offer a whole set of options to help you, focused on achieving more with technology. Right now you can sign up for my brand new live training, Get to Know Copilot for Microsoft 365 Extensibility, being run in June and July. And if you book before May 13th, you get an early booking discount. But I also have options for one-on-one coaching, group training and workshop facilitation, and strategic planning and implementation consulting services. I work with companies around the world who are interested in supercharging the benefits they get from their Microsoft investments. If you're interested in learning more, there are links below for these services. It's assumed that any of those missing features you're looking out for from Copilot for Microsoft 365 or any of the other Copilots will eventually turn up. We know there's a lot of development of Copilot products continuing on in Microsoft, and the pace of innovation here is incredible. My guess is that one of the reasons this is currently sold with a 12-month lock-in is that Microsoft knows that by November 2024, this will be a very different, more usable and even more powerful product than it was in November 2023, and those first companies that committed to a year with it will, through that year, find even more reasons to sign up again. However, while the iterative improvement of Microsoft's Copilots can be expected and predicted, there is one feature in the negatives column of every single Copilot and every other tool based on generative AI tech that we can't necessarily predict is going to be mitigated in the short term, if at all. And that is that wherever we are using Copilot, we must be cautious that it can and will make mistakes. This is simply a feature of generative AI. But why is it a feature? Well, a language model like GPT-4, which both Copilot and ChatGPT operate with, doesn't, in the human sense, really know anything. We could get these wildly impressive outputs that imply that GPT-4 is amazingly intelligent, but the underlying technology isn't one of truly developing intelligence. It's one of consuming enough text to develop a really amazing statistical understanding of how different words and phrases go together to build how we communicate with text. In itself, it is frankly amazing that simply by understanding the likelihood that word A goes after word B, a model like GPT-4 can do anything that resembles intelligence. But anyone with even a high school level understanding of how recognising patterns works can probably work out the limitations of knowledge that a tool like GPT-4 actually has. The more complex the pattern, the more data you need to understand it, and all topics are simply not equally represented across all the textual data that's available for models like GPT-4 to be trained on. This is a huge simplification of how these tools work, but it's enough to understand the problematic nature of suggesting by giving people access to these models, you are also giving them access to expertise. I think all things being equal, anyone would agree that there's a lot more that goes into being an expert or developing expertise than simply having digested all the writing on a particular topic. By deploying AI tools like Copilot for Microsoft 365 across organisations, we are definitely giving knowledge workers more tools to ease specific burdens that the information age has inflicted on them. We are democratizing access to information in a different way than has been the case through the internet age so far. But democratizing access to expertise? I don't agree with that. The experts we use in business and in life are accountants, lawyers, architects, doctors, and more. And in general, these don't come with a warning saying the output of this highly trained and experienced individual can be wrong. Make sure you double check what they say. That's not to say that you shouldn't double check. There are definitely some issues where having more advice makes more sense than less. And it's also not to say that these experts don't make mistakes, or even have terms in the contracts you sign with them to highlight this fact. But it is to say that in any way to conflate the type of wrongness you might get from an appropriately experienced attorney or accountant with the type of wrongness you might get from ChatGPT or Copilot, it's just nonsense. If we had to live our lives in active suspicion of the work of experts, then everything we do would quickly break down. Yet right now we must find ways as individuals and as leaders in business to embrace AI while treating it with enough suspicion to be using it responsibly. To not do this is to quickly run into the shoes of companies like Air Canada or people like Stephen Schwartz that failed to understand just how wrong AI can be and ended up doing harm to themselves and others through those outputs. And the reality is that the need for all of us to be learning the types of limitations AI has in order to benefit from its use while also using it responsibly is likely not a temporary blip. There are those AI experts who believe fully that just more data and more power will result in significantly less wrongness, but there are others who believe the type of hallucination we see now from AI tools is just baked into the way they arrive at their answers. Microsoft is certainly not the first company to make claims about technology democratizing expertise, and I'm sure it won't be the last. However, I see it as incongruous with Microsoft's claims of responsible AI focus to make such bold assertions about the role of AI. If you're thinking about bringing AI tools into your business, then you're not buying new experts, you're buying a team of digital interns. The tools have amazing utility, but when you start to rely on them for things that truly require subject-specific expertise rather than general knowledge, creativity, and administrative expediency, you are likely to quickly run into problems. But the most critical part of effective and safe adoption of a tool like Copilot for Microsoft 365 is the setting of appropriate expectations, and that's where I feel Microsoft got this wrong. So Microsoft, you have everyone's attention with these products. You don't need to keep upping the ante, making hyperbolic claims about what they do now or what will come. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is a strong offer, and it only seems stronger for those who commit to it with the right level of expectations set. The only people I see upset by it are those whose expectations weren't met. What do you think? This video has been a little bit different direction than normal, so I'd welcome your thoughts and feedback. Leave them down in the comments. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.